Welcome. Raheem here. Brothers and sisters, these are critical times. Called the time of unprecedented trouble. We want to discuss those things here. This is not a belief matrix. We do not work with beliefs, superstition, conjecture. We work with actual facts, science, mathematics. In fact, we believe we know everything is mathematics. The entire universe is simply put mathematics. We accept Scripture as truth, as mathematics, when properly explained, when properly understood. So, Scripture is part of our matrix, the truth fact matrix. So, I would like to talk about a couple of things. I intend to keep us updated on breaking news. News is breaking every day. Most people will admit this is an unprecedented year. The year came in exactly as the scripture said it would. If you had a proper reference point, like with a compass, it does you no good if you don't know north from south. You have to register the compass just like a map. You have to register the map. You have to make sure you put north, north, east, east, west, west, and south, south. Otherwise, it's not going to do you any good. So the proper reference point is what everyone is trying to mute. So let's look at it from one reference point. Everyone has their own reference point. But if you look from their reference point, you get confused. There's nothing but confusion. If you look from a Christian reference point, all of this is a mystery. It's confusing. I can go on and on about different things been prophesied by many so-called preachers and ministers, about the EU being the 10 horns of of Daniel and different things like that, which proved to be wrong. I can go with the Sunni reference point. From their point of view, they're still looking for this Dajjal with one eye in the center of his head. And this beast that's going to, the actual beast, animal, that's going to, a talking beast, things like that. Totally confused. So if we look at it from, let's make a couple of, I don't like to use the word assumptions, but let's assume that the book of Exodus is talking about us, and see if from that reference point, because when you get the right reference point, everything makes sense then. Because the map doesn't make sense if you have north pointing to east or west pointing to north, because nothing makes any sense. But once you get it registered right, okay, calibrated, then things start making sense. So if we look at it from book of Exodus, say that applies to the plight of the original people in America, well, let's look at it from that reference point. Because we're told in Exodus, if you take that and compare that to the Abrahamic covenant, because Exodus is the reference point of Exodus is Abrahamic covenant. It's fulfillment. Exodus is the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. So the two go together. You can't look at it independently. Exodus is the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. Now, what was the Abrahamic covenant? Abraham was told that his seed would be enslaved in a land that was not theirs, foreign land, for 400 years. Now, we can dismiss that right away about who was claiming to be that, because if we say Egypt, if we're going to use Egypt, President Egypt, as the reference point it was talking about, then, and Abraham actually lived in Egypt for a while, and those lands, Egypt, from Palestine or from the Middle East is pretty much like going from New York to New Jersey. So how is that a foreign land? I mean, you might say that, but okay. We'll just leave that for now. Okay. But it said they would be in a land that was not theirs, and they would serve them and be oppressed for 400 years. Okay, so let's look at our condition. Our enslavement began in 1619. We actually appeared here in 1555. That's a 64-year preparation period. But the enslavement, by all accounts, began in 1619. So that would mean 2019 would be 400 years. Now, after that 400 years, that would be when the Exodus started. Because it said that after that 400-year period, which would be 2020, it would begin with a plague that would kill the firstborn. Firstborn, what is that? Aren't the elderly the firstborn? Aren't they older than everyone else? Aren't they the most infirmed? Isn't that what is happening right now? Is that a coincidence? I'm just saying, to put it out there. We're trying to find a reference point. Trying to get some traction here. So there you go. 2020 will come in with a plague. And so the plague would be so bad that they would force the children of Israel to leave. So you have to read between the lines on that one. Because before they can do that, they have to identify it with us. They have to come to the conclusion that we're the cause of that plague. And by removing us, the plague would be removed. So that's a very important point, brothers and sisters. Not going to go into much detail with that tonight. Okay, did that explain anything? Does that put things in perspective? You have a better understanding of what's going on once you look at it from that point of view? If not, then look at other people's point of views and see what they have to say. See what they're saying. And if what they're saying puts everything in perspective, then listen to them. Because from my understanding, no one on this planet I know of saw any of this coming. Except those who have been studying Injil with me. Talked about it quite a bit last year. So, that a coincidence? So we can talk about other things. But I want to we're going to go more into that in the near future. But if that is true, if that we had the right perspective, before I go into my major subject, we have to lay out some groundwork here. If that is true, then what impact would that have? You have to ask yourself, if that's true, what impact would that have? That would mean that this country is under judgment. That would mean that the land that's presently known as Saudi Arabia would have to be vacated because that would be our land. That would mean that the people who are claiming to be the seed of Abraham are not. So that's three major problems right there, with three very consequential players: the Sunni, Saudi Arabia, the country presently known as Israel, and America. Three major players. They wouldn't like any of that. So think about that. We'll go into that, talk about that in a later date. Tonight I want to talk about this thing about reparations. Again, reparations. What does that mean? It's compensation for some wrong, some evil, some disaster that has befallen you by the perpetrators of those issues. So, if you get in a car accident and you're badly hurt, and the person that caused the accident says, here's $100,000, will you accept that as compensation for whatever perceived damages you think that I've caused to you? And as a result, you would absolve me of any further responsibility. That'll be reparations. If you accept that and sign that contract, then you have no right or any claim against them, any future claim, because you said, I will accept this as payment. Now, if you find later if that was sufficient, that's your problem. You shouldn't have accepted it because it's a contract. And in the Bible, a contract is called a covenant. Now, getting back to this thing about Exodus and the Abrahamic covenant, Abrahamic contract, because a contract means someone renders a service, and as a result, there's a payment. So what was the service rendered? A sacrifice was made. Abraham's seed was sacrificed, and the payment, right? The payment is the so-called promised land. So if we are the reference, if you want to look at us as a reference point here, then the service has been rendered. The sacrifice has been rendered in full, 100%, by the original people here in North America, if that contract applies to us. So now it's time for the payment. The payment would take place after 2019, because now it's time for the payment. Okay? So, if that payment is made, who does that impact? That would impact America, because that was part of the contract that our oppressors will be punished for what they have done. As part of it. So I would judge that nation. That was part of the contract with God. Because if my reference point is correct, then we are in a contract with God right now. That's the contract. And we have fulfilled our part. So now we have nothing to do. It's for him to fulfill his part. So all this stuff about home and all this stuff, that's BS, because we have fulfilled our part. 16, 19, and 2019, servitude. Okay? So that means now we're about to return home to our land, North Africa, which is currently called Saudi Arabia. That has who no one wants. They don't want that. The Sunnis don't want that. That means they have to vacate that land. They don't want that. So-called Israel don't want that because now, if that happens, they are identified as they have no identity because they're currently saying that they are the true seed of Abraham. They become a non-people. And their contract, they claim, is invalid if our contract is enforced. They don't want that. And again, America sure doesn't want it. They don't want that. So how can they avoid that? Let's look at a scenario here. Here you are, you want to buy a Lamborghini. So you've been saving money for years and making down payments. Boom, 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 boom. Then finally, you pay it off. So now you go to pick it up. And you got this salesman there. Say, hey, wait a minute. You don't really want a Lamborghini, do you? I mean, you had a hard time paying this thing off. It's been years. It's a very expensive car. The maintenance is going to be prohibitive. You have to get a garage. Do you have a garage? The maintenance, the insurance. I mean, can you really handle that? I tell you, why don't you take this BMW over here? Because if you take this BMW, we give you lifetime maintenance guarantee. We look out for you. We're going to take care of you. Why don't you do that? See, because that won't hurt your pocketbook, and you got a real nice car here. Plus, like I said, you'll get a service agreement out of this world. Okay? So they're not going to send anyone. They're going to send someone, hey, a family member, if possible, someone that worked with them that you know, or somebody that you heard about, you can trust. It's got to be somebody that, because you're not going to just trust that just because somebody could tell you that. You got to have somebody you can trust, have somebody, has some credibility with you. You say, okay, bro. I think I'll go with that. So you go with that. See, a year later, things ain't working out quite that well. You have to make a repair, right? They take a month to fix it. They didn't say how long it's going to take to fix it. They're going to give you a lifetime. They didn't say how long, when you bring it in, they're going to take to fix it. He said it's going to be proactive. They said they'll fix it. So it maybe takes 6 months. So you have to call for 6 months to fix something that goes wrong or whatever. You get the picture. Go to court. Oh, judge, I paid for a Lamborghini. This guy told me to take this. He'd give me a lifetime, and bada boo, right? Judge, look, wait, hold it. Are they servicing the car? Yes. You've been telling a long time. Is that part of the contract? No. Did you tell them they have to do this a certain period of time? No. You accepted, right? You signed, that's your signature on there, isn't it? Then what you in here for? You got everything that you asked for. Get the hell out of here. You understand? So the court's not behind you anymore. You made the agreement. They can't. They're not going to step in. What are they stepping for? That's the same thing. These people that stop this thing that they see in motion right now, they have to get you to abrogate that contract you have with God. Because God said to fulfill his contract, he let you know, you understand, when he showed up on the shores of America, Master Farad Muhammad, right? And he sent his messenger to remind you of the covenant you had forgotten about. And then you would be tested, and then you would get the fulfillment of the covenant, right? The messenger of the covenant. He's the one, Joshua, that will take you home. The breaker of the seals. But we're not going to go into that. We're just going to talk about, stick with this contract. So you have to have a salesman to sell you this. Someone you can trust. See? Now what Exodus tell you? Exodus says there was someone like that. See? He had Moses. As long as Moses was here, Oh, he was dutiful. His Aaron was dutiful. Once before the dust could clear on Moses' departure, Aaron was quick to start deceiving the people, turn them around. He deceived them, made a mockery to their enemies, twisting them and deceiving them. You see, because they trusted Aaron. And what he did, he got all his people slaughtered. All those that believed in him. But he had like a 40-year reign. Because Moses was gone so long, people thought he was never coming back. When he showed up about 42 years later, they were surprised. See? And who was anointed? Joshua was anointed because Moses never went to the promised land. He didn't take him to the promised land. He's not the eternal leader of the nation of Islam. It says he didn't even get to the promised land. Joshua is the one that took us to the promised land. Moses looked over, but he did not go. So he held this garbage, all this static. Okay, listen to it if you want to. That's your business. It's there for you. You ever heard about culling? Look at that word. Something we've been involved in since the creation to keep the nation strong and rich and vibrant, healthy. So all you out there with your BS, continue. See? Cull you right out of here. We don't, no, because all you is just, you're damaged goods, damaged cells. You know what happens to damaged cells? See, most of that when you relieve your waste, that goes out with it. So you need a cell and they sell this to you. See? But the problem is, see, when that salesman came and sold you on that BMW, the problem was that you and your wife was paying on this Lamborghini. So both of you had to sign on to that. Both of you. Because he couldn't sell the one. He had both of you to buy the idea of that BMW. If one, no, he had both of you. And that's the problem they have with reparations. Because they would gladly give you reparations. They would have done it a long time ago. Because reparation would absolve them for everything they've done. Yeah, we give you 6 pieces of land over here, and we'll give you $1 million a piece or $2 million a piece, whatever. And now we absolved of everything we've done to you. Because that's the contract. You enter into that, so you accept that as payment for whatever has been done to you since you've been here. And then their hands are clean because they're a contract, and God honors contracts. He honors contracts. You don't think so? Read the story about Esau and Jacob. Esau was the firstborn. He was the one to inherit everything. But Jacob tricked him out of it. He made him sell his inheritance for a bowl of soup. And God honored their contract, even though that goes against the normal contract. The normal contract enforced is the eldest receives inheritance. But God honored that contract because God honors contracts. You understand that? They know that. So they have to get you to abrogate that contract, to despise the contract you have with God. They get you to accept something else. See? They need a salesman that you can trust to sell it to you and have to have everyone on board. They would have done it a long time ago, but they couldn't get Elijah Muhammad's followers. They couldn't get Elijah Muhammad to go along with that. He had to go along with it because the rest of us that wasn't with Elijah Muhammad, they're pretty much down with the program here. No, democracy. See, under democracy, right, the majority rule. So if you're under that system and the majority says, oh, we're going along with it, even if you don't go along with it, then you're still a signature to that contract because you said you accept democracy. Whether you like it or not, you agree by definition that whatever the majority says, that it also applies to you. But see, the Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad, oh, that was an issue. Because they wasn't on that democracy thing. He told us, stay from voting, stay away from all that stuff. Because if you sign on to that stuff, right? Then you're part of the democracy, so you be included whatever else does, regardless whether you like it or not. And that was the problem. That was the rock in this. There was a rock or stone in their shoe. That. So they had to solve that problem. Had to get that one on board. Now, see, you had a different situation with Nation of Islam, because under Nation of Islam, he had a leader, and he spoke for his members. So if he says, I'm going to sign up, then you have to go along with that, because that's that system. You go along with what he says. So they had to get the leader to go along with it. They had to get all the members, just the leader. So they had two problems. Get the majority of the non-followers, right, to buy in, the Democrats, get the majority of them to go along, right? And then just get the leader of Nation of Islam to go along. And then they could sell it. They couldn't sell it to Elijah Muhammad. See? So they had to get the leader. Who is the leader? What's he saying? We ain't going nowhere. That's a direct attack on the contract, because that's the payment. If he tells you you're not going anywhere, he's telling you that you're not going to receive your reward, because that is the reward. That's the primary, that's the substance of the reward, the essence of the reward. We're getting the promised land. So if he's saying you ain't going anywhere, that means he's abrogating the contract already in your mind, because he said you're not going anywhere. So he's taking and denying, he's despising the contract. He said, we don't get paid. So he said either he don't want payment or God ain't going to pay you. He just lying to you. He ain't going to pay you. And the messenger just lying to you, because you ain't going nowhere. You understand, brothers and sisters? That's what's going on. So why is he telling you that? Because he's the slick salesman to sell you on this. Yeah, let's get a few pieces of land over here. Let's stay here. We like it here. We ain't going nowhere. Let's get a piece of land over here. See? And on and on and on and on and on. There's much more I'm not going to go into tonight. Just get you to understand this reparation scam. So, have I said anything that's conspiratory? From Mars or Venus? Some what do you call it? Physics or whatever. Metaphysics or whatever they call that stuff. I'm just talking down to earth, logic. Because if we accept that, then God, everybody's clean, everybody's hands are clean, and you will no longer have God on your side, because you say, I don't want your Lamborghini, I don't want your promise, I'm going to take this instead. So you have abrogated that contract. He is no longer here to enforce that contract, because there's nothing to enforce, because you accepted something else. Now, that's something else you accept. That's you. If it's no good, that's your problem. Because in fact, the top soil in America is almost gone. And if they gave you those 6 states, you'd be starving within 40 years. They ain't telling you that part. Just Google it. See how, if you understand what topsoil is, you better find out quick. And the money, they gave everyone $1 million a piece, $2 million. Oh, give everybody $1 billion a piece. They wouldn't care to be back in their pockets by sundown. Whose name's on that? Whose face on those dollar bills? Who controls the value of those dollar bills? They could wipe out that, give you $1 billion a piece and be worth a penny within 6 months. You start printing money like crazy. Everybody else take their money and put it into foreign currency or the precious metals. You're sitting there holding these dollars that pretty soon a loaf of bread costs $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. After a while, your money's worthless. See? Then once it's worthless, it's no good, right? Then everybody converts their money back to dollars, and you're left with nothing on some valueless land. See? That's what Mr. Farrakhan is leading you to, among other things. So look at, I mean, accept or reject it. I'm just putting it out there. Because you're under contract right now. Now, if you believe you're under contract, all this shit makes sense to you. If you believe that contract is going to be fulfilled, if you're a true follower of Elijah Muhammad, that's their plan. That's one of their many plans. See, that's the one that they would lack you to buy. If that fails, they got other things. They tried abortion. They're still trying that. It says, let's deal shrewdly with them. And the first step was abortion. 22 million of original babies in 50 years. 22 million? That's the population. That's more than the population of the original nation now. See, when you say black, no, that includes the master's children. Half are the master's children, half are original. So that puts original people at about 17 million. But 22 of our babies have been killed in 50 years. What is that all about? And now this reparations thing. Like I said, they were glad to give it to you. They got to get everybody on board, otherwise it's worthless. Because if everybody's not on board and the Nation of Islam holds out, God still has to enforce it for those who still, are a signature to it. They haven't abandoned it. So everybody else still have a problem. You have to get everyone on board. Everyone. You understand that, brothers and sisters? That should be clear enough. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. They're doing everything to stop this message. They literally shut me down. Well, not shut me. Well, yeah, they can shut me down. They can't shut the message down. They did everything they could to suppress this message over, on the other place, the old place over there. You know what I'm talking about. Did everything. I got around it until they figured, well, hey, when I come up with a method that they couldn't stop, they didn't just shut it, not temporarily. They disable it. They said, your account is disabled. And I was saying no more than I'm saying right now. Now you tell me, they probably cancel this one too. Now tell me, where's the hate there? Where's the violation of community standards there? See, there's hate what I'm saying, hate the truth. They're trying to block it. They cannot. Everything is mathematics. Mathematics is Islam. Islam is mathematics. Allah is mathematics. Everything is mathematics. And I'm going to leave you with this. See, you try to stop. You can't stop mathematics. Just consider this. 10 plus 2 is 12, right? 6 plus 6 is 12, right? 8 plus 4 is 12, right? 11 plus 1 is 12, right? So if you stop 12, number 12, okay, then it comes to you as 11 and 1, or 4 and 8. It comes in different ways. It's still coming to you. So look at America, for instance. They got all these things to stop the chastisement of 2020, right? Military, science, everything. See? And then how'd it come? It comes 11 plus 1, real small. See? It's a virus. Got through everything. Now, you know how many people was killed in Hiroshima bomb? It killed 8,000 people. 8,000 people. You know how many people has died so far from this virus? To date, it's like 180,000. That's almost 2.5 times what happened in Hiroshima. So that's like equivalent of, in the last 7 months, 2.5 atomic bombs were dropped on the United States. You might say a nuclear war. See, because the thing is, you say, oh, it's not a nuclear war, because nuclear war would be, 11 plus 1. See? So it comes in as 9 plus 3, or see, it's 9 plus 3. It's not 11 plus 1. Yeah, but it's still 12, isn't it? See? So you had two atomic bombs, and then all other radiation, people suffered as a consequence. So America is in war with God. He's under punishment. So they blocked everything else, so it comes in as a virus. And it's getting worse. You think about that, brothers and sisters. We're told that at the end, and I'm closing out, it says, this gospel, which is another name, Injil is another name for gospel. It's the Arabic name for gospel. This gospel will be preached in all the world, and then the end will come. The Injil cannot be preached unless it was unsealed. Now, if all these clowns are here telling you they've unsealed it, then okay, listen to them. If they have it, then, and if you agree with the end times, then somebody should be preaching the Injil. Somebody should preach the Injil. It said to be preaching all the world. But that's been done. So that's why I try to block it. I guess that's what ticked them off. Because I said, well, the web is the world, ain't it? I mean, because they think it's going to be like, angels run around, talk to everybody. Well, it's not. See? World Wide Web. And they can stop this, but it's already out there. It's in the atmosphere. And really, even if they, I mean, the explosion is taking place already. They can't stop it. They think they try to put out the word of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect His light. Come on. So shut this down too. Okay. Stop me from saying the sun's coming in the morning. Kill me. Stop me from saying the sun's coming in the morning. I don't want to say the sun coming in the morning. Let's kill it. I don't want to say the sun coming in the morning. I'm tired of saying that. And see if killing me or silencing me or drugging me or whatever you got planned for me, see if that stops the sun coming up in the morning. See if that stops it. Because that's exactly, in fact, it will be easier for you to stop the sun from coming in the morning and stop this truth. That's a fact. Because look around you. Everything Exodus has said is being fulfilled exactly. Pharaoh came, raised up Moses. He had Aaron, right? Pharaoh came, Elijah raised Aaron, Farrakhan. As soon as Elijah left, before the dust clears, he's into mischief, getting everybody confused. He reigned for about 42 years. And then Joshua come, breaking the seals, revealing the angel. There it is, brothers and sisters. Read it for yourself. Okay, brothers and sisters. Hope this has been informative. The war, the sign of the Son of Man in the heavens, that war is going to take place any day now, maybe within hours. It's going to take place very soon. When that war takes place, that's it. That's the point. When Michael's angels go to war with a dragon and his angels. That's the point. When that happens, right, all bets off. Your life will change dramatically overnight. Look at all what's going on around you. See, Massa and his children are fighting with each other. They're at war with each other. Every 50 years, so-called jubilees, there's an energy wave. It's momentous in the heavens and the earth. It comes to you but of a sudden. That means the universe is collapsed. It's not collapsing, but contracting. So it comes in energy waves of every 50 years. The last one was 50 years ago, right? Energized. And at that point, right, we saw the separation between the demons and the saints, the chaff and the wheat. You had those that want integration and those who want separation. 50 years before that, you had those that wanted to go Eurocentric and wanted to go Afrocentric. 50 years before that, so-called slavery, right? You had, right, energized. They broke the chains, the physical chains. And those some wanted to stay with Master as the sharecroppers, and some wanted to get the hell away from Master. They moved north. So you see that division. 50 years later, 20, right? You had the Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, or Du Bois, whatever. You had those people. So you had those people that wanted to go Eurocentric, and those people wanted to go Afrocentric. Then you come in the 60s, right? Separation, integration. Now we're at the point where it's going to be total. Total. See, because you always had two paths. Now it's going to be total separation between the two. Separate between chaff and the wheat. See, the wheat are going home. The rest are staying here with Master. That'd be total separation. The demons, read the demon-possessed man in Mark. The demons are going to be Master's children, be separated from the original people. That's the end of it. We'll talk about more about that another time. Okay, brothers and sisters. Remember, you're the apple of Faraz's eyes. All this has been done, prepare for you. You have nothing to worry about. So when you see all these things, look up, because it's time of your redemption. You have nothing to worry about. This plague is not going to kill you. It might make you sick if you've been extravagant with your health, but it will not kill you. It's called Passover. Assalamu alaikum.